guys ready?
Sure.
Well, this is an impressive center with a lot of important work that's happening here. This is a historic mission, by the way. I mean, if you think about it, there's nothing to model this after because this has never happened before. I think we have a lot to be proud of in the first 10 days, 11 days, 12 days of implementation, where we have faced real challenges along the way, including over the weekend, but also an exciting opportunity. So this will be the journey to sort of get through the 21 points of the plan, to get through all the things that we're trying to achieve is not going to be a linear journey. There's going to be ups and downs and twists and turns. But I think we have a lot of reason for healthy optimism about the progress that's being made. One of the reasons why I wanted to come today is sort of get a sense of the workflow, get a sense of the organization, and get a sense of the needs. It is increasingly, while you see a lot of uniforms here, including from partner state and nation states that have come, and of course with the Israelis who are hosting us and are a key part of this, you're starting to see more of a presence from State Department and related entities as well, and that will continue to grow as we can provide personnel on things like emergency response, the coordination of humanitarian assistance and things of that nature. So you're starting to see that presence here grow. But a lot of good progress is being made on a number of fronts, and you can break this out in a number of ways. The first is the maintenance of the current ceasefire, of the current peace that we're confronting, and that involves two things. Number one, deconflicting from any flashpoints that may come up. We need to understand, the world needs to understand that on the other side of that yellow line there is still a terrorist group that remains armed, and we've seen them take actions against their own population. I think it's important, by the way, that there be more media coverage given to the fact that Hamas has brutalized Palestinians, has brutalized Gazans over the last few days, and that's something to point to. But all of that has to be managed to make sure that in addition to that we don't have any flashpoints that could derail the broader process. At the same time, the coordination of humanitarian assistance. And there's humanitarian assistance that is now flowing into those places beyond the yellow line, but that involves coordinating with all of these different organizations from around the world, including international organizations and charity groups. That's a massive undertaking to coordinate all of that and that be distributed safely. That's just beyond the yellow line. Behind the yellow line, there's another effort going on in humanitarian assistance, which is even broader because those areas are safe, those areas are secure. So that's happening. At the same time, it's this work on creating an international stabilization force. It involves bringing together all the nation states that are offering to provide personnel and resources. So structuring what that stabilization force will look like, lining up all the countries that are willing to provide either money or personnel or a combination of both, and then getting the right international mandate, whether it's the UN or an international agreement, working through that to make sure that that entity, that security force that can exist, can function, is funded, understands what its mission is clearly, and can execute it effectively. And then beyond that, of course, is the long term, the reconstruction, the rebuilding, the creating conditions so that never again will we see what happened on October 7th, so that you can actually be in a place that no longer has elements operating within it that are a threat to Israel or to their own people, for that matter. And of course, that's a longer term plan, and that's something that's also key to all of this. It's the goal we're all trying to get to. But before we can get to that goal, we've got to get through the process that we're involved in right now, which is making sure the ceasefire holds without anything disrupting it, making sure people are getting the life-sustaining aid that they need in a way that's not being looted or stolen or diverted in any way, and at the same time creating the conditions for the stabilization force to come in as soon as it possibly can be put together to provide what we need, the stabilization we need in order to move to the further phases of this plan. All right?
Mr. Secretary.
Yes.
Mr. Secretary, could I ask you about President Trump in his time interview talked about the case of Moran Barghouti, the Palestinian prisoner, saying that he's considering erasing it. Do you want Israel to erase it?
I can't hear what you're asking because there's some buzz going on.
Sorry, I'll shut up. Moran Barghouti, the Palestinian prisoner, President Trump in his interview with Time said that the U.S. was considering asking Israel to release him. Is that something that you were asking?
You're talking about the one from the U.S.?
Moran Barghouti, the Palestinian prisoner?
I don't have any news for you on that today. Obviously, we'll work that through our embassy here and our diplomatic channels, but we don't have anything to announce on that.
The Palestinian prisoner, the Palestinian activist, Moran Barghouti.
I don't know why I can't hear you.
Sorry. Marwan Barghouti's case.
Yeah, I don't have any update for you on that.
Secretary.
Yes, go ahead, please.
Secretary, first of all, welcome to Israel. Second, there has never been anything like this in Israel. But it makes you think, does Israeli military decisions regarding Gaza are taken effectively in DC? And if the IDF will identify that Hamas is rearming and regrouping, can we independently renew the fighting, or we should ask for...
I think everybody involved in this would like to see this not happen again.
But if we are in the Middle East...
Well, I don't think there's any country in the
If
world...
there is a reason to renew the fighting, should we apply for permission from the Trump administration?
Yeah, I wouldn't phrase it that way. I think the bottom line is that there's no nation on earth that's contributed more to help Israel in its security. As you know, this is the president that in the 12-day war struck Iran in a way that other presidents were unwilling to do. And that partnership will continue. We're very committed to Israel's security and supporting Israel. We're also very committed, and we think it's in Israel's long-term security, and I think our Israeli partners agree, to be able to have a Gaza that is no longer an operating space for a terrorist organization. That's why this plan calls for the demilitarization of Gaza, and that's what we're committed to. So, but I wouldn't phrase it the way your question asked it. I don't think this has to do anything with mission or anything of that nature. This has to do with basically, we're all committed to making this plan work. There is no plan B. This is the best plan. It's the only plan. It's one that we think can succeed. It's one that we believe it's on the way to success. As impossible, as unimaginable as it may have been. Remember a month ago, 6 weeks ago, no one would have thought possible that you were going to get all the hostages out, and I know that we still have the remains of hostages. That has to happen. That's part of this, and we're very committed to making sure that happens. We are not going to stop pushing until all of that is, all the commitments that were made here are kept. And that includes the demilitarization of Gaza. Now, we're dealing with factors here. We're dealing with miles and miles of kilometers of tunnel networks. We're dealing with 2 decades of terrorist infrastructure. All that has to be confronted. And we'll do that together with Israel.
Secretary,
Yeah.
if you could address, following on your mention just now about disarming Hamas, is that something that the ISF force would be engaged in? And if Hamas refuses to disarm voluntarily, is that something that this force would be involved in forcing them to disarm?
If Hamas refuses to demilitarize, it'll be a violation of the agreement. And that'll have to be enforced. I'm not going to get into the mechanisms by which it was going to be enforced, but it'll have to be enforced. I mean, this is a deal, and a deal requires conditions to be met. Israel's met their commitments. They're standing at the yellow line, and that is contingent upon the demilitarization. So suffice it to say that we're also hopefully going to create conditions where Hamas won't have people, because there'll be ways. We want to see a Gaza where people can live without Hamas, where they have jobs, where they have prosperity, where they have opportunities. I'm not telling you that's going to be set up next week, okay? That's a long-term project. But what I am saying to you is that we want to create the conditions, we want to help create the conditions here so that people in Gaza don't have to be terrorized by Hamas, and in fact have lives, jobs, businesses, and a better future, and are completely uninterested ever again in joining, supporting, or being held captive by a terrorist group. So I think everyone, it's not just the United States, by the way. This is what makes this so unique. It's not just the United States. Understand, over 24 countries signed on to this, including regional powers, regional countries, Arab countries, majority Muslim countries, signed on to the commitment that there would be a demilitarized Gaza, and that there would not be a Hamas with the capability to threaten Israel. That's a commitment not just by the United States. This was signed on by all these countries. We fully expect that everyone will live up to those commitments.
Mr. Secretary, the question I think from Israeli point of view, thank you, and welcome to Israel, by the way. I think the question from Israelis' point of view is that in the meantime, because everybody wants this plan, no question about that, in the meantime, as you mentioned, every day Hamas is rearming, pre-preparing, doesn't give back our dead hostages. So the question is whether in the meantime the US should let Israel to act on the other side of the Gaza Strip. In this way, the ISF future war will also be easier. That's the question.